Welcome back to M4Y Archives. Tonight, we will turn the pages of hidden history together. Not stories of mighty kings or magnificent castles, but a different kind of tale. A story that has shaped the very world we live in today. Imagine, for a moment, a barren and desolate field. In the middle of it, a flower blooms. Its petals are as delicate as silk, radiant in many colors. Deep crimson, pure snow white, or a dark purple like the sky at dusk. It sways gently in the wind, appearing harmless, elegant, and irresistibly alluring. Yet beneath that beauty lies a terrifying power, a force capable of soothing unbearable physical pain, but also strong enough to break human will, topple glorious empires, and redraw the map of the world with blood and gun smoke. This is the poppy flower, also known by its haunting name, the flower of oblivion. How could the sap of a wild roadside flower ignite brutal wars between global powers? How did a gift from God transform into a curse of the devil? The story of opium is not merely the history of an addictive substance. It is a chronicle of insatiable greed, the rise of global trade, and the inherent fragility of the human soul. Take a deep breath and join me as we step into the hazy smoke of history. This is the Forbidden Files series, and this is the story of opium. Chapter 1. The gift once called divine. Our story traces back to the very dawn of human civilization in the fertile land of Mesopotamia. More than 5,000 years ago, around 3400 BCE, the Sumerians, a great civilization that invented writing itself, left behind mysterious clay tablets etched with cuneiform script. On these ancient tablets, they carefully described a remarkable plant, one they called hogil. Imagine the lives of our ancient ancestors. Their existence was often a crucible of physical torment. There was no anesthesia, no antibiotics, no synthetic pain relievers. A simple toothache, a broken bone from labor, or a fierce abdominal cramp could easily transform a life into a living hell. Pain was an inescapable companion, a constant shadow. Yet, amidst this harsh reality, they stumbled upon a remarkable flower. They observed that after its vibrant petals fell, a spherical, green seed pod remained. With a sharp blade, they would gently score the fresh pod, releasing a milky white sap akin to tears. Left overnight, this sap would oxidize, turning dark brown, thickening into a sticky, bitter, resinous substance, raw opium. The Sumerians harvested this dark resin, tasted it, and discovered a miracle. All physical agony vanished, anxieties about failed harvests, rampant diseases, and the ever-present specter of death receded. In their place, an overwhelming sensation of serene weightlessness and profound peace enveloped them. They believed this divine substance was a gift from the gods, a balm to soothe the inherent suffering of human existence. From the Sumerians, the secret of the joy plant traveled across civilizations, passed to the Assyrians, then the Babylonians, finally flowing along the Nile to ancient Egypt. There, opium was revered, documented in the world's oldest medical texts, such as the Ebers Papyrus, listed as a panacea for countless ailments, from headaches and asthma to stomach pains, and even quieting crying infants. Even the mighty pharaohs sought its solace, employing it to find peaceful slumber amidst the relentless burdens of governing their vast empires. Yet it was the ancient Greeks who bestowed upon it the name we still use today. The English word opium directly derives from the Greek opion, meaning simply poppy juice, or tree sap. In Greek mythology, the poppy flower was inextricably linked to the twin gods Hypnos, the god of sleep, and Thanatos, the god of death. This was a poetic, yet profoundly ominous metaphor. Sleep and death, two states of unconsciousness, peace, and eternal stillness, both falling under the mystical dominion of this powerful plant, foreshadowing its dual nature of relief and ultimate oblivion. Chapter 2. Between sleep and death. This flower held a profound duality. Used in the correct dosage, it brought Hypnos, the tranquil god of sleep. Overdosed, it delivered Thanatos, death itself. Homer, the great blind poet, in his epic Odyssey, spoke of a remarkable substance called nepenthe, the drug of forgetfulness. When Helen of Troy mixed this potent potion into wine for the weary warriors, they consumed it and forgot their deep sorrow, the pain of lost comrades, their longing for home, and the brutal horrors of war. Historians widely concur that the mythical nepenthe described in ancient texts was, in essence, opium. By the time of the mighty Roman Empire, opium had seamlessly integrated itself into the fabric of medicine, becoming an indispensable remedy. Emperor Marcus Aurelius, the esteemed philosopher emperor, widely recognized for his wisdom, is believed to have consumed opium daily. He sought its solace to alleviate chronic stomach pains and to cope with the relentless mental and physical burdens of leading vast military campaigns. For thousands of years, spanning from the ancient lands of Mesopotamia all the way to the sophisticated Roman civilization, opium was predominantly ingested orally. People would dissolve it in wine, consume it raw, or formulate it into various medicinal poultices and concoctions. This method of administration meant that the opium's compounds journeyed through the digestive system, where the liver acted as a natural filter, mitigating much of its immediate potency and toxicity. For centuries, opium in China was confined to the realm of medicine, stored safely in beautiful ceramic jars within the imperial pharmacies, far from being a societal plague. But in the 17th century, a pivotal event far across the globe would inadvertently alter China's destiny forever: the discovery of the Americas. From this new world, Europeans brought back a peculiar plant, tobacco, along with the novel practice of pipe smoking. This foreign habit soon found its way to Chinese shores, introduced by Portuguese and Dutch traders. What happened next was utterly unexpected. The ingenious yet ultimately tragic innovation of the Chinese was to mix opium with tobacco for smoking. This potent concoction, which they named Mada, marked the true awakening of a latent demon. This was the moment everything changed. Why was the transition from drinking to smoking so profoundly significant? Biologically, when opium was consumed orally, its active component, morphine, would take hours to slowly traverse the stomach and intestines before finally entering the bloodstream, resulting in a gentle, prolonged effect. But smoking radically altered this dynamic. The opium smoke, now laden with morphine, bypassed the entire digestive system, rushing straight into the lungs. Within this vast network of millions of tiny blood capillaries, the morphine was instantly absorbed, propelled directly to the brain in a mere 7 to 10 seconds. This was no gentle effect. It was an extreme shock, an explosive burst of euphoria that hit almost immediately. The brain was suddenly deluged by an enormous surge of dopamine, and it was this instantaneous, overwhelming reward that engineered an addictive mechanism hundreds of times more potent than anything associated with ingested opium. As the addiction deepened, the use of tobacco was gradually phased out of the mixture altogether. Innovators created specialized long-stemmed pipes designed exclusively for smoking pure opium. A small, carefully prepared pellet of raw opium would be heated over the steady flame of a peanut oil lamp, transforming it into a thick, milky white plume of smoke. What began as an experimental blend evolved into an elaborate art form. Opium smoking became a sophisticated social ritual, a decadent mark of status among the affluent elite of Qing dynasty China, practiced with meticulous care and ceremony. Chapter 3: The Opium Dream. Imagine the scene: secluded chambers, bathed in the faint, flickering glow of oil lamps. Men, draped in luxurious silks, reclined languidly on carved wooden platforms, their long pipes held loosely in their hands. Their eyes, half closed and dreamy, surrendered to a blissful oblivion as they sank deeper into the sweet, cloying aroma of the smoke. In these moments, the concerns of the world outside simply melted away. Thoughts of work, family responsibilities, the relentless passage of time, all were forgotten, replaced by a singular consuming haze. They were utterly lost in the present, willingly embraced by the drug's intoxicating hold. Yet in their tranquil oblivion, these men remained blissfully unaware that across the vast expanse of the ocean, a powerful empire observed their burgeoning habit with ravenous, calculating eyes. The British Empire, driven by its insatiable commercial ambitions, saw not a cultural ritual, but an immense opportunity. This burgeoning addiction across China represented an irresistible vulnerability, a market ripe for ruthless exploitation. We depart from the hazy indulgence of the opium dens to comprehend precisely how this insidious drug became the very fuse that ignited a devastating war, forever changing the course of history. Chapter 4: Greed of an Empire. From the opulent tea rooms of 18th century London to the humble homes of coal miners, England was undeniably captivated by tea. This fragrant beverage, sourced exclusively from China, had become the nation's lifeblood, a daily ritual ingrained in every strata of society. However, this fervent desire came at a steep price. China, seeing itself as the self-sufficient celestial empire, demanded only silver for its precious leaves, silks, and ceramics. For decades, British coffers bled, sending vast quantities of bullion eastwards. British merchant ships, laden with Western goods like wool or clocks, often returned from China near empty, their offerings deemed unnecessary by the proud Chinese. This alarming trade deficit brought Britain's economy to the brink, threatening to deplete its national treasury. The British East India Company, then the most powerful corporation in human history, urgently sought a solution to this crippling financial outflow. They desperately needed a commodity that China would desire, something so compelling that once introduced, it would create an insatiable demand. Their answer lay in the vast, vibrant poppy fields of their Indian colony. A cruel, yet ingenious plan began to take shape. Cultivate high-quality opium in Bengal, package it into sturdy oak barrels, and clandestinely smuggle it onto China's shores. The Chinese emperor had outlawed opium since 1729, but laws, it seemed, were flimsy barriers against the tide of profit. The company, a supposed beacon of Western civilization, transformed into the largest drug syndicate in history, orchestrating the systematic addiction of a nation. Chapter 5. War, written in smoke. By 1838, a staggering 40,000 chests of opium flooded into China annually. This insidious drug had infiltrated every corner of Chinese society, from high-ranking court officials and garrison soldiers to the lowest coolies on the docks, all succumbing to its intoxicating embrace. The once favorable balance of trade dramatically reversed. Silver, the lifeblood of the empire, now bled out of China and into the coffers of British merchants. The Qing economy became hollowed out, and the health of an entire nation withered. Opium addicts were cruelly dubbed the sick men of East Asia, a bitter testament to their plight. The stark irony was that while opium use was tightly controlled within Great Britain, they were ruthlessly poisoning another civilization in the name of free trade. Emperor Daoguang of the Qing dynasty watched in horror as his empire teetered on the brink of annihilation. He understood with stark clarity that if the relentless flow of opium wasn't stemmed, China would soon lack the silver to pay its armies and healthy soldiers to wield their swords. In desperation, he summoned Lin Zexu, a formidable figure renowned for his incorruptibility, unwavering resolve, and unparalleled talent within the imperial court. Bestowing upon Lin Zexu the revered Shangfangbaojian, the imperial sword of authority, the emperor appointed him imperial commissioner. He was dispatched to Guangzhou, China's sole trading gateway to the west, with a chilling, unequivocal mandate: pull up the weeds by the roots. Until the opium is eradicated, you shall not return. In May of 1839, Imperial Commissioner Lin Zexu arrived in Guangzhou, a man of unwavering principle who neither accepted bribes nor entertained compromise. His first decisive act was to impose a total blockade on the foreign merchant quarter, severing their vital supplies of food and water. He issued a stern ultimatum. British merchants were to surrender every last chest of opium hidden aboard their ships. After 6 grueling weeks of intense siege and mounting pressure, Charles Elliot, the chief superintendent of British trade, had no choice but to concede. A monumental cache of over 20,000 chests of opium, equivalent to a staggering 1,200 tons, was finally handed over to the Chinese authorities. What did Lin Zexu decide to do with this colossal haul of opium? Burning it was out of the question, as the resulting smoke would intoxicate the entire city. Instead, he devised an ingenious and environmentally conscious method. At Human Beach, massive pits were dug into the sand. Seawater was channeled into these pits, creating large basins. Then, the countless opium bricks were meticulously smashed and thrown into the seawater. Finally, vast quantities of quicklime were poured over the mixture. The powerful chemical reaction between the quicklime, water, and opium generated intense heat, effectively dissolving and neutralizing the drug, rendering it harmless and preventing any further use. This unprecedented act of destruction sent a clear message to the world. Boiling and completely destroying the addictive substance, Commissioner Lin Zexu then directed the contaminated water to be discharged into the open sea. This monumental destruction campaign lasted for 23 grueling days and nights. Lin Zexu, firm in his conviction, believed he had emerged victorious. He even penned a fervent letter to Queen Victoria of England, a letter celebrated for its powerful moral appeal. He challenged her directly. You do not permit opium smoking in your own country. So why do you bring this poison to contaminate our people? Where is your conscience? However, these impassioned letters never reached the queen, and a critical misjudgment by Lin Zexu, a feudal Confucian scholar, proved fatal. He fundamentally misunderstood his adversary. The British did not perceive the destruction of opium as a moral act or a public health initiative. Instead, they viewed it as a blatant infringement on private property rights and a severe insult to their national dignity. Outraged opium merchants quickly returned to London, launching an aggressive lobbying campaign in the British Parliament. They painted a stark picture of a barbaric and arrogant China, accusing it of impeding the sacred principle of free trade. Consequently, in June 1840, the formidable expeditionary fleet of the British Royal Navy materialized off the Chinese coast. Spearheading this armada was the HMS Nemesis, an iron, steam-powered marvel bristling with modern cannons. The First Opium War had officially begun. What followed was not merely a war, but a brutal massacre. The numerous wooden sailboats of the Qing dynasty, quaintly nicknamed ram chips, shattered like fragile toys under the relentless firepower of the advanced British warships. The British cannons possessed superior range and devastating accuracy, tearing through the Chinese fleet with ease. British troops landed with alarming swiftness, occupying coastal cities effortlessly, almost as if on a leisurely stroll. For the first time in millennia, the Chinese people were confronted with a harrowing truth. They were no longer the undisputed center of the world. They had fallen tragically behind the Western barbarians they had long held in contempt. The Treaty of Nanjing imposed a heavy price. China was forced to pay 21 million silver dollars in war reparations, cover the cost of the destroyed opium, and open 5 treaty ports to unrestricted British trade. The most humiliating concession was the permanent cession of Hong Kong Island to Britain. Ironically, the treaty made no direct mention of opium, yet in its wake, the opium trade exploded across China, openly and with unprecedented force. Lin Zexu, the national hero who bravely stood against the drug, was scapegoated by the emperor for the defeat. Stripped of his office, he was exiled to the remote reaches of Xinjiang. This devastating period marked the beginning of China's century of humiliation, 100 years of national disgrace, all stemming from the seductive sap of a beautiful flower. Chapter 6: Fire over Civilization. But the story didn't end there. Greed, like seawater, only makes one thirstier. The British remained unsatisfied, and now the French also desired a share of the expanding spoils. A second, even more devastating war loomed, destined to lead to the destruction of one of the world's most magnificent architectural wonders, the Summer Palace. The Treaty of Nanjing in 1842, which seemed to satiate British ambitions, proved merely a temporary measure. 14 years after the first conflict, Britain felt the Chinese market was still not sufficiently open. They demanded more: freedom of movement within China's interior, an embassy in Beijing, and most critically, official legalization of the opium trade by the Qing court. They needed a pretext, and it arrived in 1856 with the Minor Arrow Incident. A small smuggling ship flying a British flag was seized by Qing authorities. This seemingly minor incident provided the perfect spark to ignite the Second Opium War. This time, Britain did not stand alone. They had rallied their French counterparts, who were equally eager to carve out a share of the lucrative Eastern pie. The combined Anglo-French allied forces marched into China, as history brutally repeated itself, but with even greater devastation. The technologically backward and militarily weak Qing army was no match, crumbling completely before the advanced European firepower. By 1860, Western forces were closing in on Beijing. Emperor Xianfeng, overcome with panic and a sense of impending doom, abandoned the capital and fled north to Ray Hall, leaving his imperial city and its treasures to the mercy of the invaders. The stage was tragically set for an unprecedented act of destruction. The brutal trampling continued. On the outskirts of Beijing, one of humanity's greatest cultural tragedies was about to unfold at the Yuan Mingyuan, or Old Summer Palace. This was no ordinary palace. It was a sprawling garden of 10,000 gardens, an architectural marvel 5 times the size of the Forbidden City. For millennia, it had served as a repository for the unparalleled treasures of Chinese civilization. Ancient literary works, priceless Tang Dynasty silk paintings, and the most exquisite jade-glazed porcelain. Every facet of its design and every artifact within its walls spoke of a rich, unbroken cultural legacy. But as Western forces advanced, this sanctuary became a target. In retaliation for the capture and torture of several Western envoys, Lord Elgin, commander of the British forces, issued a chilling order that would reverberate across the globe. Burn it all to the ground. The order was given, and the destruction began. For 3 days and 3 nights, 3,500 British soldiers systematically laid waste to the Yuan Mingyuan. Imagine the sheer scale of this inferno. Flames erupted, reaching skyward, blanketing the entire Beijing skyline with a suffocating, dense black smoke. The air would have been thick with the smell of burning history. Precious wooden palaces, their intricate designs crafted over centuries, began to crumble. Gilded pagodas, once shimmering under the sun, glowed with an ominous red as they succumbed to the heat. Even the sturdy marble bridges, testaments to masterful engineering, cracked and disintegrated, swallowed by the relentless sea of fire. This wasn't merely a building burning, it was an irreplaceable cultural landscape being erased from existence, moment by agonizing moment. Yet, the destruction didn't end with fire. What could not be consumed by flames was systematically smashed to pieces. More tragically, the most valuable treasures, artifacts representing millennia of Chinese artistry and intellect, were meticulously plundered, spirited away to grace the collections of London and Paris. This act of cultural vandalism sparked outrage, even among those whose nations were involved. The great French literary master Victor Hugo, despite his country's participation in the war, penned a scathing indictment. He wrote, "One day, 2 robbers broke into the summer palace. One looted, the other set fire. We call ourselves civilized, and they, barbarians. And this is what civilization has done to barbarity." His words served as a powerful, timeless condemnation of an act that stained the conscience of the world. In the smoldering aftermath of Yuan Mingyuan's destruction, the Qing dynasty had no recourse but to sign the humiliating treaties of Tianjin and Beijing. This time, the most devastating clause was ratified. Opium was legalized. Import duties were now officially levied on the drug, transforming the deadly black sap from contraband into a legitimate commodity. China's gates were now wide open to the trade of addiction. Opium dens proliferated like wildfire, appearing in every bustling street of glamorous Shanghai and in the most secluded rural villages. The tragic image of emaciated skeletal men lying listlessly beside their opium lamps became a painful, enduring symbol of late 19th century China. The Opium Wars concluded with a decisive Western victory, but at an immeasurable cost, forever altering the fabric of Chinese society and cementing a period of profound national suffering. Chapter 7. The Monster We Created. While the British condemned the Chinese for their opium addiction, a different kind of shadow was quietly rising in their own homeland. Welcome to Victorian London, 19th century. Even as the English labeled Chinese opium addicts as diseased and weak, in the very heart of foggy London, Britons themselves were deeply immersed in their own intoxicating haze. Only they called it by a more elegant name, laudanum. What exactly was laudanum? It was, in essence, opium dissolved in strong alcohol. In Victorian England, laudanum was as readily available as a loaf of bread. No prescription, no questions asked. It was sold in every general store, every pharmacy, and even in pubs. It was cheaper than beer, cheaper than gin. People used laudanum for everything. Headaches? Take laudanum. Menstrual pain? Laudanum. Colds, consumption, sadness, heartbreak? Laudanum was the answer. But there's a chilling truth that medical history often tries to bury. Impoverished mothers in England, forced to toil for 14 hours a day in textile mills, would give their infants a syrup known as Godfrey's cordial, Godfrey's divine mixture. Its primary ingredient? Opium. They called it a baby sedative. The children would fall into a deep sleep, no longer crying, allowing their mothers to work in peace. Tragically, many of these infants never woke up. They died from respiratory failure or severe malnutrition as the opium suppressed their appetite. This was known as the silent death in the cradle. However, it wasn't just the struggling working class who succumbed to addiction. Europe's intellectual, artistic, and aristocratic circles were the most ardent devotees of opium. Consider the list of famous addicts from that era: the romantic poet Samuel Taylor Coleridge, the novelist Charles Dickens, the great poet John Keats. They believed opium opened the doors of imagination, helping them escape mundane reality and step into a world of surreal dreams. Most famously, Thomas de Quincey immortalized this experience in his groundbreaking autobiography, Confessions of an English Opium Eater. Thomas de Quincey's Confessions of an English Opium Eater, published in 1821, captured the imagination of a generation. In its pages, de Quincey described his initial experiences with opium in the most sublime terms. He spoke of it as, "Oh, just subtle and mighty opium, that to the good and wise art an anodyne, to the thoughtless and the intemperate art a direful scourge." He painted a vivid picture of its power, holding the very keys to a personal paradise, a realm of profound clarity and boundless imagination. This romanticized portrayal would indelibly shape public perception for years to come, igniting curiosity and, for many, a perilous desire to experience this divine elixir for themselves. But paradise, as de Quincey soon discovered, always has its price. In the latter half of his Confessions, the narrative plunged into the abyss of addiction. He vividly recounted the descent into hell, terrifying nightmares, gruesome hallucinations, excruciating constipation, and the complete collapse of his once vibrant will. His book, intended as a stark warning to the world, tragically backfired. Instead of deterring, his eloquent descriptions only fueled a morbid curiosity, prompting more individuals to try opium. This era epitomized the great hypocrisy of 19th century Western society. They scorned the Chinese for smoking opium from crude pipes, deeming it barbaric, yet they themselves consumed it elegantly from crystal glasses, hailing it as a sophisticated panacea. Yet human nature is perpetually restless, never satisfied. The raw, unrefined opium, despite its profound effects, was deemed not potent enough. Driven by a relentless desire to create a perfect, cleaner, and more powerful painkiller, scientists embarked on a journey into the very heart of the poppy. They sought to unravel and manipulate its complex chemical structure, believing they could refine nature's raw power into something even more beneficial. This ambition, born from a blend of medical necessity and scientific curiosity, would soon unleash a new, far more potent force upon the world, a force that would irrevocably alter the landscape of medicine and addiction alike. From within these hallowed, if sometimes dimly lit laboratories, a new entity emerged, a monstrous creation, yet one promising salvation, 10 times more potent than crude opium. It bore the name of the Greek god of dreams, Morpheus, and it was called morphine. The year was 1804, and in a small German laboratory, a young pharmacist named Friedrich Turner achieved what alchemists had failed to do for millennia. He successfully isolated the active principle from crude opium resin. What he found was a pure, beautiful white crystal, a substance of exquisite purity, but also 10 times more dangerous than the raw plant. He christened it morphine, a name that quickly evolved into morphine, honoring Morpheus, the deity of dreams in Greek mythology. Friedrich Turner genuinely believed he had unlocked the ultimate key to liberate humanity from all suffering. And indeed, morphine quickly proved to be nothing short of a miracle in the burgeoning field of battlefield medicine. Imagine the brutal realities of war in the mid-19th century. Far from the sterile operating rooms of today, hundreds of thousands of soldiers faced horrific injuries, often undergoing amputations in crude, unsanitary field hospitals. The pain was unimaginable, the screams echoing across makeshift tents, threatening to overwhelm both patient and surgeon alike. In these desperate moments, a single innovation would emerge as a beacon of hope, promising an end to the most profound agony. Fast forward to the American Civil War, a conflict that would redefine the scale of human suffering. Here, amidst the chaos and carnage, morphine became the wounded soldier's guardian angel. A simple injection, and the unbearable agony vanished, offering a temporary reprieve, a fleeting dream of peace amidst the horror. It allowed surgeons to perform life-saving procedures, easing the torment of countless men. But as the war finally drew to a close and the battle-weary soldiers returned home, they carried with them a new, insidious wound, an invisible scar deeper than any bullet or bayonet. The very substance that had brought them solace on the battlefield now held them captive, irrevocably changing their lives and marking the dawn of a new, complex challenge for society. The craving for morphine became an inescapable torment. Its horrific grip spread so rampantly that it was dubbed the soldier's disease, leaving countless veterans incapacitated and dependent. Yet the true tragedy arrived in 1853 with the invention of the hypodermic needle. Before this innovation, opium was typically smoked or ingested. Now, with the syringe, the potent substance could be delivered directly into the bloodstream, bypassing the digestive system and accelerating its effects dramatically. The path to euphoria became much shorter, and tragically, so did the path to death. Witnessing this escalating crisis, scientists and doctors of the era, in a desperate quest to find a cure for rampant morphine addiction, began to search for alternatives. These desperate scientists returned to their laboratories, hypothesizing that a slight alteration to morphine's chemical structure might yield a more potent, yet crucially, non-addictive painkiller. This quest for a safer alternative culminated in 1898 when the German pharmaceutical giant Bayer, the same company that developed aspirin, unveiled a groundbreaking new product. They boldly advertised it as a miracle cough medicine, proclaiming it to be non-addictive and even safe for children. They christened this new compound heroin. The name itself was derived from the German word heroin, meaning heroic, reflecting the testimonials of early users who reported feeling powerful and euphoric like heroes. It's almost unbelievable to consider that in the early 20th century, a parent could walk into any pharmacy and purchase a bottle of cough syrup containing heroin for their child. In the most tragically ironic twist of pharmaceutical history, doctors began prescribing heroin to cure morphine addiction. The cycle was relentlessly cruel. Opium for pain, morphine to replace opium, and now heroin to combat morphine dependence. Yet, unbeknownst to them, once heroin enters the human body, it metabolizes back into morphine, but with an effect on the brain that is twice as rapid and intense. Thus, humanity, with all its intelligence and arrogant ambition, failed to eradicate the monster it sought to tame. Instead, we inadvertently made it stronger, more sophisticated, and infinitely more deadly. Its dark journey began in the ancient poppy fields of Mesopotamia, wound through the hazy opium dens of Shanghai, and eventually culminated in the sterile yet deadly hypodermic needles found in the dark alleys of the modern world. This is the somber, sprawling journey of the opium poppy, a path etched through millennia. As the night deepens and we reflect upon this entire history, stained with blood and tears, one question inevitably arises: should we truly blame the poppy itself? Perhaps not. The flower in its natural state is inherently innocent. It simply exists, a beautiful creation of nature, offering its potent sap without malice or intent. The true culpability, the tragic missteps, and the escalating devastation lie not with the plant, but with humanity's relentless pursuit of altered states, its desperate search for pain relief, and its ultimate arrogance in attempting to control and manipulate nature without fully understanding the profound, often deadly consequences. The poppy, a simple plant born from Mother Earth, blossoms under the sun, offering its lifeblood. It possesses no will, no malice. Perhaps divine creation intended the poppy to soothe human physical pain. Yet, it is humanity's own avarice, inherent weakness, and the vast emptiness within our souls that twisted this divine gift into a weapon of destruction. We waged wars over it, crumbled under its influence, and ultimately died because of it. The plant itself is innocent. It is the human heart that harbors the darkness, turning potential solace into profound sorrow. This delicate flower, once a symbol of relief, became an emblem of our deepest flaws and darkest desires, reflecting a tragic irony in our history. The story of opium serves as a profound mirror, reflecting the very essence of humanity back to us. It starkly illustrates how the boundary between a miraculous elixir and a deadly poison, between the sublime promise of heaven and the abyss of hell, can be as delicate and fleeting as a wisp of smoke. It reveals that often, the most terrifying elements do not reside within the vibrant, alluring blossoms themselves. Instead, they lurk in the deepest, most shadowed corners of the human spirit. It is here, in our own hearts and minds, that the capacity for both boundless compassion and devastating cruelty truly resides. transforming a simple plant into a catalyst for our greatest triumphs and most tragic downfalls. I hope that tonight's narrative has offered you a fresh perspective on history, a history that transcends mere dry numbers and dates. Instead, envision a past imbued with the fragrant scent of blossoms, the bitter taste of potent medicine, and the salty sting of countless tears. This isn't just a chronology of events, but a tapestry woven with human experience, emotion, and the profound impact of a single plant. It's a story reminding us that history is alive, complex, and deeply personal, shaped not only by grand movements but by individual struggles and choices, echoing through time with a potent mix of beauty and sorrow. May these reflections deepen your understanding of our shared human journey. Now, let us set aside these thoughts and worries. The past is now at rest. Allow your mind to drift into complete relaxation. Imagine yourself lying on a verdant green hill, a gentle breeze softly caressing your skin. Here, there are no toxic flowers, only profound peace. If you appreciate these unique historical narratives shared at the edge of sleep, please consider subscribing to the M4Y Archives channel and hitting the notification bell. Your support is the driving force that encourages me to continue delving into the ancient, dusty archives within the Library of Shadows, unearthing more hidden tales for you. Thank you for listening. May you have a peaceful and restful night.